And like I just went to an outside. No, I went over, it's the week of Burning Man. So my friends that didn't go to Burning Man had a No Burner Left Behind get together. Oh gosh, I'm so glad for when I are not at Burning Man right now. Are you going to see? Oh, and it's alkaline, and it turns into, every time you take a step, it just sticks more. And it's like this much red and like 4 inches wide. It is, I'm so glad I'm not at Burning Man right now. So there was a gathering, so I went. That's it, the general council. I'm really proud of it. I am pretty proud of it. Well, he got tired. It was too heavy. But yes, a lot of people wanted a picture. But it was hot. They didn't have the air conditioning on high enough. It was like hot in there. It was another really good one. So yeah, more people like, I don't think I'm gonna wear that costume again. I was like, but you saw that costume. He's like, I don't think I'm gonna. It's too hot. And I was like, that's legit. But more people that compliment him. So just showing everyone their right. I think he wants to do a different one for Halloween. That's okay. I like Halloween. And that show will probably still fit him next year. And the head will like take out the stuff and make shelves. So he might, or I might get him to take him more to Phoenix Comic Con because he missed the costume contest because they pulled the door wrong. We were out, we stood outside the door, we were there 5 minutes early. The door said we had the costume contest. They moved this location and didn't tell us. So there's like 4 kids. This part is almost never been pronounced now. So we come in, me and this other guy, the other ones took off their stuff. And we go in and the kids get to take a picture because they've got all the costumes. And our kids have the 2 best costumes. Like this guy, I don't know if you've seen Stranger Things. It's pretty scary 80s stuff. This 12-year-old made this mask and it has a stomach organ and it's got oh, did you see? Yes. I showed you that one with him. That kid handmade the costume. And he didn't like go in and row and didn't get the costume on it. So like, another good one, but I think they would have usually won their age division. Because Barbie was back. And the other dad was like,
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to this service at the Unity Unitarian Universalist Church of Tucson. My name is Celeste Rogers, and I will be your worship associate this morning. If you have attended church this summer, either in person or online, you know that we have been blessed with some wonderful, amazing services crafted by our sabbatical minister, Jamili Omar. And our worship team. And now September has finally arrived. And we are delighted to have our settled minister, Reverend Bethany Russell Lowe, back in the pulpit with us this morning. Because of the progress our country has made in fighting the virus, we no longer require that masks be worn in worship or in concurrent religious education. You are, of course, welcome to continue to wear a mask, but it is no longer required. However, we have had some recent exposures to COVID in our congregation, so if you are feeling sick, we encourage you to wear a mask or join us from home. Based on our last poll, UUCT members are committed to being fully vaccinated and boosted. For all of our sakes, especially for those most vulnerable, please let us maintain that commitment. I extend a special welcome to visitors and invite you to fill out a guest information card, which will be posted in the YouTube chat. There are also clipboards with yellow paper that you can fill out if you are here with us in person, here at the Welcome Center in the back corner of this room. We will meet for social hour after the service right here in Goddard. There will be coffee, tea, iced lemonade, and some snacks, of course, and good company. When our service ends, we appreciate that those of you who are able to help set us up more chairs around the tables in the back of the room. If you need to use the bathroom, the facilities you are familiar with in Holland are still accessible through the doors off the patio, although it's probably pretty warm in there. Also, we have 2 bathrooms down the hall here, and there are some bathrooms available in the courtyard as well. We have one special announcement that the grief group has been canceled today. We are going to meet the following Sunday, September 10th, as usual, in the Reed Room at 12:15. And as always, please know that if any member or visitor seems to need TLC that very day, Lenny says she is always available to speak to them by phone. As we prepare to enter the sacred space of worship, let us remember that our community strives to be as varied as the blooms of the Sonoran Desert, so that we may better reflect the wonderful diversity with which Southern Arizona is blessed. However you participate in this service, whether here in person or from afar, we welcome you. Whoever you are, whoever you have been, and whoever you are becoming, I invite you to bring your whole self here now.
Good morning. It is so good to see you and be here with you. I hope that you had a good summer, or that this summer was what you needed it to be. I'd love to hear more details about your summer. So if you haven't told me already, if your update is one that could be interrupted by a toddler, find me after church with my toddler. If you need a deeper pastoral update, tell me about the transitions or what happened this summer in your life. Let's find a time to talk on the phone or in person this week. Just let me know. Our words for opening for a call to worship this morning come from Reverend Chip Rausch. He writes, "Deeper than DNA, more fundamental than molecules or quarks, at our living core, we are wholeness and transfiguring love. We often forget that power, becoming lonely or resentful, comparing ourselves to others, acting out of our fears rather than living our glory. Occasionally, though, we rouse from our trance to remember our wholeness. For a time, we embody unsentimental love. We make efforts to wake others and to remain fully present ourselves. Our lives, our time here together are made sacred by our striving. So for the next 60 minutes or so, and for the rest of our lives, may we be more aware of that spirit of life evolving through and among us. Come, let us worship together.
Our words for chalice lighting this morning come from Reverend Tara Humphreys. I invite you to say these words with me now. Whether you are from the south, the east, the north, or the west, whether you were born into this faith, found it, or it found you, whether you feel at home or are still trying to find your place, whether you believe in God, are open to mystery, or still have no idea, whether you are unemployed, underemployed, cobbling things together, overworking, or in school, whether you are holding anxiety, grief, confusion, anger, hope, restlessness, or deep peace, Unitarian Universalism has a place for you. It is right here, and this chalice is lit for you. Now, if you are at home and have a chalice or candle nearby, please light it as we light our chalice here in God.
Our first song today is a call and response song. It's a back and forth song that you will catch very quickly. When you get to the last line of each verse of the song, there's the line, "Sing your spirit home." When Jamelia and I were talking about a song to sing this morning, we thought to ourselves, this would be a lovely one to sing on Bethany's first day back. So let's sing her spirit home. Please rise in body or spirit. First word changes, all the rest of the words are the same. You'll catch it fast. It's a back and forth. I start it. Courage, courage, my friend, you do not walk alone. We will walk with you, and sing your spirit home. Justice, my friend, you do not walk alone. We will walk with you, and sing your spirit home. Freedom,
Hi, friends. We have shared a lot of stories this summer in these last 3 months, haven't we? Some were once upon a time stories, some were just the facts, ma'am stories, and some were our own story, as we heard last week. Today we are saying the end to one of our chapters of our own stories here at UUCT. We're welcoming Reverend Bethany back from her summer sabbatical. And I know we're all excited. We want to hear how it went, to share our own experiences while she was gone, and to dive back into the work and the play of this congregation. But before we flip the page on our next chapter, can we take a moment and remember where this chapter began? Maybe if you're school-minded, we can think about a book report. No grades. No grades. Just maybe a little review. In May, when we sent her off, we invited Reverend Bethany to, and I'm going to quote from our service that day, to rest well on your sabbatical. We send you with our blessings. We will keep you in our hearts, knowing that you are a part of us and we a part of you. We trust that you will return, and you will return recharged and energized for our shared ministry. So, how did we do? Did we, in fact, send her out to rest? Yes. What did we do while she was gone? In a word, short, right? You're gonna tell her our paragraphs later. But what did we do this summer? What do you remember? Shout it out. Travel. We got a lot of travelers. Sam? Reverend Sam. We brought Reverend Sam back for another year. We sang? We sang. We always sing. We love to sing. What else did we do?
Getting to know you.
We getting to know people. Getting to know me. That was my greatest joy this summer. Anything else? Socialized. We got to know each other. We have some really wonderful groups starting this summer.
We created a sacred space here in Goddard.
We created sacred space in Goddard, and we continue our online sacred space. Other big things, little things we did together. Visiting ministers. We got a lot of different voices this summer. And we kept it going. I know if Margot Garcia was here, she would shout out the first thing is that deconstruction over there, right? That's been huge this summer. Our safety plans, a lot of us are involved in this unfolding safety of our organization in all these different ways. Anything else? Our grant. Yes. Yep, we're going to write for another grant. Anything else? We've kept up our facilities. We've kept up our relationships. Done all this amazing, beautiful stuff this summer. You also invited me in, which I am deeply, deeply grateful for the ways in which you've let me grow and embrace you as my ministry evolves over time. So, if we forget to say it, in the frenzy of all that we're doing, and in the frenzy of your return and our excitement to see you here again, let me say it now. We missed you. We welcome you back, and we look forward to writing this next chapter together. The end.
As always, Jamili has a good story.
It's our story.
But this time it's our story, yes. Our earth is strong. It can hold our pain and our joy, our love and our anger. Our shared bowl, which we use for joys and concerns each week, is strong enough to hold the big rocks, our collective celebrations and mournings, and also the smaller stones we will add to signify our individual joys and concerns. Today, I am holding in my heart several friends and family members who have been struggling with physical illness, chronic pain, and serious health concerns. We who live in the desert know that water is a life-sustaining and scarce resource. Let us remember those desert people who came first to this place. We honor the Hohokam, the Yavapai, the Tohono O'odham, the Yaqui, and the people who no longer exist as tribal entities here in Arizona. Let us remember those who are walking through our desert right now without access to water. We pour water from a plastic jug, similar to those used by our partner No More Death, who leave out water for those seeking water in the desert. If you have a joy or concern, I invite you to go to menti.com and put in the code 75359928. If you are here in person and cannot access the internet, you can go to Brian Moon and he can help you type in your joy or sorrow. You're also welcome to come up to the table and put a stone into the water to symbolize your joy or sorrow. The pebbles create ripples of hope.
Continue that spirit of holding community as I read our Menti responses. Someone shared joy at their son got his first, quote, mainstream job, and he likes it. Yay. Someone hadn't thought much about how much Jimmy Buffett's songs had been a part of their life. His passing on Friday is a big loss, yes, for many. Thrilled about Reverend Bethany's return. Me too. Worried about a friend who is suicidal. Sending your friend the prayer that they are enough and they are held. Congrats to my teen who got into the U of A for next fall. Woohoo! Hugs to all our friends struggling with COVID and other health concerns today, yes. Joy for the new business across the street where Big Heart Coffee used to be, now a Middle Eastern and African cafe and groceries. Yay, cool. Lunch, yeah, Jamelia said lunch. My in-law who is suffering from early onset dementia and my spouse who is struggling to find safe spaces for him. Joy at my nephew Sam's wedding. I invite you now into a spirit of meditation, a spirit and a posture of meditation or prayer, contemplation, whatever is your own way of grounding down into your being. Our words for prayer this morning is a poem by Yahia Lababidi called Dawning. He writes, "There are hours when everything creaks, when chairs stretch their arms, tables their legs, and closets crack their backs incautiously, fed up with the polite fantasy of having to stay in one place and stick to their stations. Humans, too, at work or in love, know such aches and growing pains when inner furnishings defiantly shift as decisively and imperceptibly as a continent. Something will stretch, croak, or come undone so that everything else must be considered. One restless dawn, unable to suppress the itch of wanderlust with a heavy door left ajar semi-deliberately and a new light teasing in, some piece of immobility will finally quit, suddenly nimble on wooden limbs as fast as a horse fleeing the stable.
This next song will catch pretty quickly as well. It repeats. The top section of the text repeats twice, the bottom section repeats twice, and then we'll sing it a few times, and after that, just sing whichever section of text you want to sing. So, it begins this way. Loosen, baby, you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. That part again. Loosen, baby, you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Holy breath and holy name, will you ease this pain? That repeats again. Holy breath and holy name, will you ease this pain? Loosen, baby, you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen, baby, you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Holy baby, and holy name, will you ease this pain? Holy baby, and holy name, will you ease this pain? Let go, let go. Let go, let go, let go. That's softer. Let go, let go, let go. Last time. Let go, let go, let go.
What We Say Yes To by Erica Hewitt. The offering that we take each Sunday isn't just a stale habit. It's an opportunity to recommit to this place and to this people. Our offering is an affirmation, a yes. When we give, we say yes to something we value. With our gifts freely given, may we say yes to the values of our faith. May our offering help us practice Unitarian Universalism within and beyond our congregation as tools to empower our mission. Now an offering will be collected to support the life and work of our congregation. If you are joining us on live stream, you can send a check to the office, give online at uuctucson.org/donate, or text 833-361-5796. If you are here in person, the ushers will come around now with the offering baskets to collect your donation.
Our reading this morning comes from writer and storyteller John Rodell. It's called Anatomy of Peace. He writes, "My brain and heart divorced a decade ago over who was to blame about how big of a mess I have become. Eventually, they couldn't be in the same room with each other. Now my head and my heart share custody of me. I stay with my brain during the week, and my heart gets me on weekends. They never speak to one another. Instead, they give me the same note to pass to each other every week, and their notes they send to one another always say the same thing. This is all your fault. On Sundays, my heart complains about how my head has let me down in the past. And on Wednesdays, my head lists all the times my heart has screwed things up for me in the future. They blame each other for the state of my life. There's been a lot of yelling and crying. So, lately, I've been spending a lot of time with my gut, who serves as my unofficial therapist. Most nights, I sneak out of the window in my rib cage, slide down my spine, and collapse on my gut's plush leather chair that's always open for me. And I just sit until the sun comes up. Last evening, my gut asked me if I was having a hard time being caught between my heart and my head. I nodded. I said I didn't know if I could live with either of them anymore. My heart is always sad about something that happened yesterday, while my head is always worried about something that may happen tomorrow, I lamented. My gut squeezed my hand. I just can't live with the mistakes of the past or my anxiety about the future, I sighed. My gut smiled and said, in that case, you should go stay with your lungs for a while. I was confused. The look on my face gave it away. If you are exhausted about your heart's obsession with the fixed past and your mind's focus on the uncertain future, your lungs are the perfect place for you. There is no yesterday in your lungs. There is no tomorrow there either. There is only now. There is only inhale. There is only exhale. There is only this moment. There is only breath. And in that breath, you can rest while your heart and head work out their relationship. This morning, while my brain was busy reading tea leaves and while my heart was staring at old photographs, I packed a little bag and walked to the door of my lungs. Before I could even knock, she opened the door with a smile, and as a gust of air embraced me, she said, "What took you so long?" I think the laughter means, oh, I've been there. Hatha yoga is the practice of yoking heart, body, and mind. This is what my yoga teacher reminds me of in many of the practices she leads. Hatha literally means to yoke, to connect, to pull together, to put equal pressure on both sides if you're imagining an oxen being yoked. And yoga literally translates to practice. And like the solution in our reading, breath is the way to yoke mind and body in Hatha yoga. Yoga has been a practice that I have held for over 15 years and fell into and away from as the years have flowed on. Over my sabbatical, I intentionally fell back into an intentional yoga practice. So 2 Wednesdays ago, when I was in my yoga studio, sitting at on my mat at the end of my practice, I noticed that one of those wandering thoughts that night had been what on earth I was going to say this morning. The thought had actually ended in a place of really wishing I hadn't scheduled myself to preach the first Sunday back after sabbatical. But then I heard my teacher say what she has said many times before, but I heard it fresh. She said, "Put your hands at your heart to seal this practice." She said, "Soon you will step off the mat, and you seal this practice as a reminder that we carry this practice with us as we step off the mat into the world." Coming back from a sabbatical of rest and restoration feels a lot like stepping off the mat. After 3 months of rest, how do I seal this sabbatical? And how will I carry this practice of rest with me into my ministry? There's a sloth on a smiling sloth on there. That's quite cute. How will I carry this practice of rest with me into my ministry with you all? Now, I'm not exactly sure what this looks like yet. I have some ideas, but you and I need some time to figure out the details. But I know that we will rest together too. So in the absence of a spotlight today, I've brought 5 things that I learned on my yoga mat this summer, or in the few months before, about rest and practice and where those two meet. Anybody practice yoga here? Or have you, do you? We've got a number of us. So number 1 is that yoga has resting postures, right? They have postures woven throughout the sequences where you are intentionally resting. One resting pose is laying flat on your back in Shavasana. It's lovely. One of my friends, whenever we asked, what's your favorite yoga pose, she says Shavasana, and I laugh, but it's a real pose. You have to get everything to relax. Another resting pose is sitting. There are various ways of sitting that are resting postures, but not all resting poses are quote-unquote easy. Plank is a resting pose, which I did not believe for a long time. My teacher would say, plank, where you're basically in the upper part of a push-up, is a resting posture. But I started to get it the past year or so. I said, oh, I can feel a lot of my body resting in this. Not my abs, not my back, but a lot of my body can rest here. Huh. So resting poses are woven throughout the practice. Resting poses can be woven throughout our lives. They're not always easy. Rest is not always easy. Another friend of mine says, rest is a challenge. Rest feels to me sometimes like plank, but it is rest. Number 2 is this idea that you focus on your mat. In my family, we say, or some families you say, not my circus, not my monkeys, right? In my family, we say, that's not my yoga mat. That is not my responsibility. Many of you learned this idea of I control only my own actions in my own life through Alcoholics Anonymous or other anonymous programs. Not my yoga mat. This is my yoga mat. This is what I have control of. My teacher Priscilla says, don't look at your neighbor. That's a slippery slope. And I heard that the other day. I said, slippery slope into what? Slippery slope into, you know that slippery slope. That was a knowing laugh, I'm sure. You know it, the slippery slope into that voice in your head, the one that tells you that story you tell about yourself, the part of you that compares yourself to others and says, should I try that? Is that the right way? No, that's the right way. They're better than me. That's not my yoga mat. Your yoga mat is just right here. I'll repeat some words from our opening words. We are wholeness and transfiguring love, though we often forget that power, becoming lonely or resentful, comparing ourselves to others, acting out of our fears rather than living our glory. Occasionally, though, we rouse from our trance to remember our wholeness. For a time, we embody unsentimental love, and we make efforts to wake others and to remain fully present ourselves. Focus on your life. Focus on your effortless love, your knowledge of your wholeness. That's a really cute baby sloth in the picture. Number 3 is, this is a hard one for me. Life is practice, not perfection. Or yoga is practice, not perfection. This truth keeps me from sliding down that slippery slope of self-competition or self-comparing. And it also reminds me that what my body needed to practice yesterday is not the same as what my body needs to practice today. And also what my body could do yesterday is not what it can do today. We encounter this opportunity for growth and learning throughout our lives. When we find ourselves less able than we were, when we find ourselves sick due to age or sickness or other circumstances. Yoga, living is practice, not perfection. Do what you can do, not what you could do. 4, breathing is enough. Sometimes our practice is just that. About 6 months or so, I had been suffering some really bad vertigo in my life. I was having moments of vertigo where I would almost fall over. Hadn't happened for a few days, so I went to yoga, and I had probably one of the worst episodes of vertigo I've ever had. Nearly fell off, but really was not able to control my body. And I was trying to do what my teacher was inviting us to do, remember that perfection thing, and I nearly fell over because I couldn't calibrate my body in a very simple way. So I curled up into child's pose, which is just a fetal position, but your head facing the ground, and I just stayed there for minutes, 5-10 minutes. My teacher is wonderful, so she came over to make sure I was okay, and I explained what was happening, and I stayed in child's pose for the rest of that practice. That was the last vertigo I had in that round. So it turns out that staying still in that practice, even though I paid for that yoga class, was exactly what my body needed. Once I yoked my body and mind, I did the practice that my body needed, and my health figured itself out for then. I learned that night what the poet speaks of in our reading. When your head and your heart or your head and your body are out of alignment, breathing can yoke and ground your practice. Where in your life do you need to yoke your body and mind? Where in your life do you need to breathe through that argument that is happening between your head and heart? The fifth thing I learned is that how to leave the mat, which I've already hinted at. You seal your practice, you step off the mat, and you carry it forward. Think of a spiritual practice in your life, even if you don't use that word, something that you do regularly that grounds you and connects you to that which is bigger than yourself. How and when do you seal that practice? How do you know when it's done? How do you seal the practice so that you can carry it forward? For the next few weeks, maybe months, I am stepping off the mat. I am moving away from my focus on rest and restoration and integrating what I learned in my ministry with you all. And I am making a commitment to carry rest forward. Carrying rest and restoration forward is not just for my own well-being, it is also for the well-being of my profession. The Barna Group, which studies trends in churches, did a study on clergy burnout in 2021. In January 2021 and October 2021, 2 different months, about 10 months apart, they asked pastors the same question. Have you given real, serious consideration to quitting being in full-time ministry within the last year? Quitting ministry, not just their congregation or their job. Quitting ministry altogether. In January 2021, 29% of pastors answered yes. They had considered quitting full-time ministry. In October 2021, 38% answered yes. Went from 29% 10 months later to 38%. The Barna Group hasn't followed up since October 2021, but my own anecdotal data from being in relationship with a number of clergy and ministers is that more than 2 in 5 clergy would answer yes today. There are numerous reasons why. Decline of membership in congregations, uncertain financial futures, pressure stemming from climate crisis and the pace of societal change, divisiveness, destroying the fabric of our social politics, and more. All of these things are impacting congregations and impacting pastors and leading some relationships to end. Now, to be very clear, I want you all to hear me. In January 2021 and October 21 and September 2023, I would have answered no to the question of considering quitting full-time ministry here at UUCT. Yes, we can clap for that. Thank you, Natasha. But I get to say yes to ministry here because you are doing it with me. Whenever we face one of those larger issues I just named, we don't blame it on each other, right? We don't blame it on each other. We face it together. None of us does ministry alone. I want us to continue to remind one another of that to keep us strong. And a return to the importance of rest in this, why I took that detour. The Barna Group found that the pastors who answered no to the question of quitting were more likely to give higher scores to their own personal well-being. Pastors were asked questions about their spiritual, physical, emotional, vocational, and financial well-being, and those who scored themselves higher on those questions were less likely to have considered quitting ministry. Rest is part of the well-being of ministry. My rest and your rest. I will take care of my own rest and communicate with you as leaders what that means for my presence and what boundaries I have. And I ask the same of you. Because if pastors are at risk of burned out on church, volunteers and lay leaders are too. As community members, how do you or will you attend to your spiritual well-being here at UUCT? If you don't have a spiritual practice yet, find one. A colleague of mine says that a spiritual practice is anything done with intention and attention with regularity. Intention and attention with regularity. If you don't think you have a spiritual practice and you can't find space for one too, I encourage you to observe the regular practices of your life. What is one thing you love doing in your current practice of life? And how could you do that one thing with more intention, attention, and regularity? Maybe your spiritual practice is hiking or just walking. Maybe it's crafting or singing choir or reading. Maybe you meditate or listen to music, or exercise, or cuddle with your pet. Maybe you just sit for a few minutes when you have them week to week. Whatever you find your practice to be, do it regularly, more than you think you need. Because the world, I don't know if you've heard, is a wild place. And it is getting wilder. And we need more people that are more connected to their own spirit and to that which is bigger than them. If all you have is 5 minutes every other week, take that time to do something with intention and attention. And when you are done, seal it, move away, and carry it with you. The carrying with, I learned this summer, is a vital piece because it makes us the people we are aspiring to become. Meditation, when we carry it with, becomes self-love and love for others, breathing before responding. Hiking might become reverence for the natural world and all that is in it. Crafting might become noticing and admiring creativity wherever it shows up. Singing and listening to music could become embracing dissonance and harmony wherever it is. Reading could become curiosity and openness to new ideas. Your spiritual practice, whatever it turns out to be, can ground you, and when you carry it forward, it enriches us. So friends, go and search for that thing that will ground you and enrich us. Practice it often. Seal it each time and carry it with you into the world, helping you and us become the people we are yearning to become. When you find your thing or when you practice next, I am sure it will say to you, what took you so long?
If you grabbed a hymnal on your way in, turn to page 6. The words will be projected on the screen to my left, although I didn't turn to the right page. As you are able, please stand and sing just as long as I have breath.
Now I invite you to join me in saying our words for closing by Becky Lawrence as we extinguish our chalice. As flame is to spirit, so spirit is to breath, and breath to song. Though we extinguish the flame in this sanctuary, may we tend it in our hearts until we meet again.
ridiculously breakneck like they're all I saw it this week.
Well, I can't read. Oh, yeah.
We didn't have any protesters this year, I thought. I knocked on wood, I should check today, but they have negative It happens a lot now, we're on the list.
I feel like
So they'll come with their signs and usually they're just a great photo op for everybody. So that's why they're not here. They're taking your photos all protesting in costume. Or the zombies wander in there with a couple pictures.